The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. Thomas Jefferson. This is Citadelium, episode 12, and I'm your host, Yuri Degaya. Today I want to talk briefly about the Great Reset, the so-called great economic and social reset that the parasites and the parasitic elite are planning to impose on the world. And this is a lively topic. I think it's being discussed quite widely on the internet, on Twitter, where I am active, and on other websites, news information websites, personal blogs. Obviously, in the mainstream media, you will see the Great Reset and Build Back Better slogans cover this kind of stuff in a positive way, whereas pretty much everyone I know and everyone I follow discuss it in a negative way. And obviously, I am here to cover some parts of it in a negative way as well, because it is overall a negative thing. It obviously comes from the top of the pyramid, of the parasitic pyramid, if you remember the pyramid that I posted in my blog post some time ago. And that top is represented by these international organizations that are comprised of individuals that have never been elected by anyone. So they were just appointed, and these individuals claim to be knowing what's better for the whole planet, and they want to impose their vision of how things should work on pretty much every single country and every single person on the planet. So if you understand something about how people are elected even in democracy, then you of course know that democracies are usually local types of political processes, right? So you elect a president for the United States of America, you elect a president in Russia, and in these organizations that are international and that comprise of member states, there are elections that are done not by the people, as in democratic countries, but by representatives of those countries. So essentially, the people who are governed by these organizations have absolutely no say in who runs these organizations and what kind of agendas they promote, right? So, but again, this is not the topic of this conversation here. Obviously, in my opinion, all these organizations were set up to kind of promote various so-called globalist agendas, and just to essentially further the agenda of taking over the planet in terms of its resources, in terms of its life force, the economic force, and just subjugating the whole population, so that everybody is pretty much a slave, and the select few, are at the top, enjoying all the wealth and the resources. And there may be all kinds of reasons for it. We won't go into this. But what is this Great Reset that they are talking about? Well, essentially, it's a complete overhaul of the whole financial, economic, and social system in the world, and bringing the whole list of all the countries in the world under the same kind of umbrella vision of what they think is good for the country. Obviously, it's anti-capitalist. It's a Marxist movement because if you know anything about Marxism, that's the main thing about it, is that it is all about centralized control, right? So, but in this case, they do not really want to centrally control just one part of the globe, or one country, or a bunch of countries, like they do in the United States or in the European Union. They want to control the whole planet, and they want to control every aspect of people's lives, economic lives, including the lives in their bedrooms, as you remember I mentioned last time. So we I think we did not really see clear signs of this just a few years ago, and most of the people who talked about it, who actually were doing some research and researching some documents and some agendas for different conferences that took place internationally, and obviously. Those people were called conspiracy theorists. I mean, this term is pretty popular these days as well, but I think it's kind of losing its power already because, well, how many instances of conspiracy fact do you have to have in order to dismiss the term conspiracy theorist altogether, right? And there have been so many conspiracy facts already, something that were considered conspiracy theories before, but became conspiracy facts, especially after revelations of people like Edward Snowden. That I think is quite silly to call anyone conspiracy theorist these days, because all a conspiracy theory is an alternative opinion. It's just someone thinks differently from the party line, from the mainstream opinion, so to speak, from the consensus of the science and all that stuff. So I think it's really important to understand. But recently, these messages, this global reset and build back better, things like that, have been popping up quite regularly and openly online. So what I'm driving at here is that they don't hide it anymore. It's quite in the open. They have been priming people for this kind of stuff for several years now, and it's not just on their official websites. It's in all kinds of avenues, in mainstream media, in so-called opinion pieces, which are really just personal blogs, really. It's in movies, Hollywood, comedy shows, everywhere. So in 2016, for example, the World Economic Forum posted a presentation, and it posted its 8 predictions for the world in 2030. So the world 2030, or right now, if you remember, there was this Agenda 21, so-called UN Agenda 21. Right now it's called the Agenda 2030. So, and the first prediction, the first out of 8 predictions in this slide deck was as blunt as it can get. It said literally, you will own nothing and you will be happy, right? So this has been just discussed on Twitter quite a lot. Everybody, went against it, even to the point that the World Economic Forum had to post a tweet, kind of, slightly backpedaling on this and explaining what it really means, which is, hey, it's just an opinion. There's nothing serious about this. This is how we saw things, happen in the future, and it's just more like an extrapolation of our ideas, right? But obviously it's bullshit. This is exactly what they want, and you will own nothing is the first point that they presented in this presentation, and I think it's really important because this is what it's all about. So obviously, if you think about it, if you own nothing and you only rent things for yourself, right? Then you rent them from someone. So it means if the vast majority of people in the world own nothing, then it means that some of the people on the planet own everything, and they lease and rent things out to the regular people, right? Because we all know that people's republics, people's democracies, and people's essentially utopian Marxist and communist states, they're not possible in reality. They're not practical because they claim that there will be, at the end of the end goal of it is that there will be no property and no state. But obviously things don't work like that, and just the nature of the human interactions is all based on property pretty much. As Saifeddin Ammous mentioned one day in one of his podcasts with Stefan Levera, people who don't understand the concept of private property are either infants and children under 3-year-old or socialists. And I think it pretty much boils down to this. So, you won't have any property under this Great Reset, and this is their main goal, meaning that if they are allowed to rent things to you, it means that they will also have the power to take things from you at a snap of a finger, because if you say something they don't like, you do something they don't like, or you don't expend a valid amount of energy on certain things that they want you to expend them on, you will get revoked. Your license for using some certain things will get revoked, and they will be able to do that literally easily, because they want to digitize everything, right? So literally at the push of a button, just like you can get booted from Twitter, you will be able to booted from all kinds of services, including the very basic ones like grocery shopping. Imagine you are not able to grocery shop because you said something that the parasitic elites didn't like. So that's the kind of future that they promote. If you're still skeptical about the Marxist agenda behind the Great Reset, then it gets a lot clearer in the recent article that was published by the IMF's managing director, Kristalina Georgieva. And that article was called A New Bretton Woods Moment. In that article, she went on to explain how the new economic system would be built, and we'll skip it here. It's not that important. What's important here is the background of Kristalina Georgieva, and you can look it up on Wikipedia. Her profile is there. I think the main thing to highlight here is that Georgieva holds a PhD in economics from the Karl Marx Higher Institute of Economics. I think that's all you need to know, really. And, some people will say, well, that's just an ad hominem. You're just attacking her personality and not her ideas. Her background is literally comes from a Marxist educational facility. So, yeah, I am attacking her personality, and it is how it should be done, really. There's no middle ground. There's no, you can't be open-minded and open to ideas, and you just erase the face from the ideas. No, all ideas come from someone, right? They are, in this case, they come from her, and it's quite clear what the agenda is. So this is in short what the Great Reset is about, right? It's mostly about the economic subjugation, but also about social subjugation. And there's already articles about the Great Reset that kind of explain it more in detail. I think if you just go to DuckDuckGo or even Twitter and just search for some articles, you will see them, because there's more and more of them, and they cover all kinds of things from 5G and total vaccination and digital passports and things like that. Again, if you think these points that I just mentioned, vaccines and digital vaccine passports and things like that, are a conspiracy theory, just go ahead and look. These things are being prepared already in countries like Australia and New Zealand. They are discussed on a government level. So it's not like someone invented it just yesterday. This is a long-term agenda, and I think it's pretty clear where it's all going. So then we have this Great Reset, and what do we do as individuals? Do we fight, or do we try to avoid these measures and these people as long as we can? In terms of how we act, I think it's pretty clear that pacifism is not the answer here at this stage of our development in the world. And As a matter of fact, I believe that pacifism itself as a movement, the pacifist movement, uh, was likely created by the parasites themselves to pacify the population and to spread the idea of this type of peaceful resistance. You essentially just, get together, get high, and sing kumbaya, maybe meditate a little bit, and suddenly world peace appears, right? I think that's completely wrong because we live in reality where physical action really matters. And remember one saying, he who does not employ violence is at the mercy of those who do. So, if you come to a ring and your weapon is meditation, and then a UFC fighter comes to the ring and his weapon is actual fists and kicks, he'll kick your ass. It's very simple, and there are funny videos on the internet where Shaolin monks, wanted to test and show their skills of, basically being unbreakable. Those types of skills that they show in Chinese movies, martial arts movies. So obviously this didn't end well, and they got their asses kicked and by professional fighters, and reality hit them really hard. And some of them probably were also kind of affected by this type of situation because maybe they were brainwashed a little bit throughout their lives in their Shaolin monasteries that they will become unbreakable if they just spend their lives training. And I'm not dunking on them because I really loved and still admire this type of culture. I love the martial arts movies myself. Earlier, and but you have to be realistic, and you cannot send a Shaolin monk or a yogi who just sits and meditates, unless it's some kind of an initiate who employs some ancient mysteries of magic or whatever, and he really knows his stuff. He might be able to do something, but these people, I believe, are quite few, and they don't usually come out and just show their miracles to the world, right? At most, you can get guys like Wim Hof to show you how you can survive by climbing Everest almost naked, right? But that's pretty much it. You're not gonna get anyone doing any other miracles. So this is how it is. I mean, we live in the physical world. That's my point. Is that we live in this world of matter, and you cannot really you cannot really just sit and hope that things will change if you raise the vibrational frequency of the universe, right? At the same time, the biggest point here is that the parasites, a lot of the parasites are psychopaths, right? What does it mean? A psychopath means that it's a physiological condition. You cannot appeal to their emotion. You can. Some people think, and even Gandhi in India, Mahatma Gandhi thought, and he wrote an article about this, that even the man with the heart made of the hardest stone can, his heart can be melted by a sight of suffering, right? And if this guy's heart wasn't melted by a sight of suffering, it means the suffering wasn't big enough. I think it cannot be true because of what I just said recently about psychopaths. Psychopaths cannot be appealed to. You cannot appeal to their emotions because they don't have certain emotions on a physiological level. They literally, it's not like they pretend. It's not like you can take their humaneness and just bring it back. You can't, because it does not exist in their personality. It's literally erased on a chemical level. They lack certain parts of brain activity that allows them to feel empathy and other human emotions, right? So when you try to appeal to them with violence or with self kind of violence that you impose on yourself and even martyrdom, it's not going to work. As a matter of fact, they'll be really, really happy to see that. Oh, well, I don't have to work now to, kill this guy because he just did it to himself, right? So psychopathy is a physiological condition, and you have to learn that. And a lot of these parasites are psychopaths. So there's also a spiritual perspective to this. We live in the world of matter, and matter is malleable, and you cannot create anything in this world, in the world of matter, the world that you can touch and feel and sense, unless you destroy something in return, right? So to create a statue, you have to destroy pieces of marble, and in order to make a shape. In order to create a chair, you have to destroy a tree. So in order to destroy the order that the parasites have already imposed and are going to impose even further, you have to destroy it, and you have to destroy it in order to create the order that you want to see in the world, right? You cannot just withdraw completely from it and hope that it will just go away and disappear. Yes, the order that they want to destroy, and you can argue about that it's not sustainable. It's Marxism, long term communism doesn't work at all. It's just not sustainable economically. The tyrannical power structures are not sustainable long term either. There will always be an uprising, but even if we talk about an uprising, again, that's already a violent action. That's a violent action of destruction of the power structure, right? So that's why I don't think that meditating will help, because while I do believe that it's true that collective and individual meditation helps in general, but I think we're too far away from that level of our spiritual development in which such a thing will make a meaningful impact. You see, maybe in a few 100,000 years, maybe in a couple million years, our species will be developed to a certain degree of spiritual enlightenment that such actions will actually make impact, right? But right now, the parasites are extremely successful with their agendas, specifically because they realize that the vast majority of people are not enlightened. They are pretty much operating in terms of their animalistic instincts, right? They respond to basic animal instincts. So the parasite knows this, and that's why they act, and they subjugate people based on their animal qualities, right? Some people can be bought literally with food. There are people who love food, so you satisfy their food desires, and they do things for you, right? There are other people who love things like sex, and even some kind of extreme sexual perversions, including pedophilia. So you satisfy their sexual desires, and in return they do things for you. They work for you literally. Other people love fame. You give them fame. In return, they do things for you, right? Like TV stars, singers, and all kinds of actors, and stand-up comedians. You can see that on TV. It's very, very transparent to me personally, what they do. And other people really love money or power. If in terms of money, the parasites can allow someone to actually become very wealthy and become a billionaire, but in return, that billionaire will have to further the parasitic agenda, right? So, like if that billionaire runs a social media platform, he has to use the social media platform to further the agenda. If that billionaire runs a tech company, he will use the tech to further the agenda, right? And finally, if there's someone who lusts for power, then that is what the parasites can also satisfy. And the biggest social class, obviously, of people who lust for power are politicians. So the politicians are favorite people for the parasites, because this is there's a lot of people who want power, a lot of them. And it's a very, very basic animalistic instinct to want to be dominating over other people, right? The parasites understand it very well, so that's why it's so easy for them to employ politicians and that will do their bidding. So this is very basics of how of the human condition, of how humans operate, and I hope you can see it right now that I describe it in these kind of simple terms. But what I'm trying to say here is that I do believe that some form of fight is actually the answer. We cannot sit peacefully and let it happen. I think some form of resistance has to happen. It maybe won't be this kind of massive resistance where millions of people go to the streets, because usually that's not how things happen. Usually it is a dedicated bunch, a bunch of dedicated individuals that really go through with certain plans, and they organize certain things that actually work. And then the masses will follow, right? Because remember, the masses need leaders, and if you create a power vacuum in terms of leadership by maybe subverting the power structures of the parasite, then you can take the position of the leader and explain to the masses what needs to be done and why their lives were bad, and they will follow you. So that's how things work in general. And I think we do have some kind of we do have the means to achieve such goals, and obviously one of them is Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin now. If you remember, the first agenda on the parasites list is to relieve you of all your property, and that includes money as well. So you won't be able to own anything, including money. The money will be literally just given to you by the central bank on your wallet, right? And if you do something wrong, they'll freeze it, right? Bitcoin is the ultimate property, because you hold the private keys to your wallet, so you can have Bitcoin anywhere you want and nobody can really take it from you. At the same time, it's censorship resistant. You can send Bitcoin anywhere in the world in a peer-to-peer fashion, so no one can really tell you not to send it. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, Bitcoin is yours and yours only. So that's why I think Bitcoin is really important in this fight. As a matter of fact, I think that without Bitcoin, we would be a lot worse off at this point in 2020. I personally would be a lot more pessimistic about the world if Bitcoin did not exist at this point. The next thing is obviously what makes defense possible is the is weapons. It's arms. It's you have to get your arms. You have to get your armaments, weapons, all kinds of defense systems. This is just a natural thing, and this is how the balance of power is is checked with weapons. And then there are some other things that can be done, especially when Bitcoiners become, rich in the future. And that's why I consider Bitcoin more as a means to an end, and not an end in itself. Obviously, money should not ever be your final goal. It should be just a tool for you to actually do things in the world, right? So using Bitcoin, Bitcoiners can fund all kinds of things, including counter propaganda campaigns, and counter propaganda campaigns can be done on the local level in your in your town or in your country, or on the global level in the whole world if you're smart enough to do that. And then there's also political action. As much as we hate politics, some kind of political action is probably feasible, and starting on the local level and then going maybe up in regional and country levels, also funded by Bitcoiners, could do some good. But again, it probably has to go hand in hand with counter propaganda measures. So there are some things that we can do, and I think it's really important to understand that steps and measures need to be taken, and you just cannot allow this to happen all by itself. And some people say that I'll just stack my sats, I'll just stack Bitcoin, and that's the only thing I will do. And because of that action only, the power structures will fail. We will just we will basically take away their monetary power from them. But this can last for years and years, or it can last for decades, because the parasites have amassed vast fortunes. They own lots of land. They own lots of real assets. They own lots of guns, and that's a fact. So you can't just say, well, I'm just gonna live in the forest for a couple of years, and then I'll come out of the forest, and the world will be a different place where I'll be a rich man and things will be great in my citadel. Yeah, maybe that's not the way it's gonna work out. You might need to actually fight in the next couple of years, or you have to be prepared for some kind of a proactive campaigns, proactive measures. So I want to finish with the tweet that I just posted that says the Great Bitcoin Reset. So we want to replace obviously the Great Reset with our Great Reset, and we want to have our Great Bitcoin Reset powered by Bitcoin. And what does it mean? Well, I think what it includes, and this probably comes after the fight. I think the fight is inevitable. There will be, a war. It may not be a conventional war the way you are used to thinking about war, but it will be a battle. There will be multiple battles probably, and there will be different types of these battles in different places in the world. But at the end of the day, after all those battles have been fought and won, hopefully, we can establish our own great reset, and we will power it with Bitcoin. And I think the most important thing here is that we will strive for establishing individual sovereignty in this world, so that individuals can actually make their own choices, of where to live, what to think, what to say, what not to say, and who to marry, who, like the basic things that were considered normal recently, and that are under fire recently. Those things have to be they have to be returned, right? The world of the Great Bitcoin Reset is a world of low time preference as well. As you remember, low time preference focuses on the future, so people will have to think about the future more, and Bitcoin helps with that, if you remember, due to its economic properties. This new world will also be focused on family, and I believe that nuclear family is extremely important, because this is where your tribe starts, right? First, you start with individual sovereignty, and then you expand this sovereignty to your family. Your family is your tribe. This is your close people, right? And then you obviously expand it to your friends and community, and then town and city, and citadel, whatever you have. And then, yes, of course, we'll build our citadels. That's the world we want to live in. We want to live in the world of tens of thousands of citadels that compete with each other, that help each other, that cooperate with each other, right? So this is how it's going to be. I truly believe it's possible. So happenings will start sooner than later, actually, because we can already see a lot of action in this regard, in terms of building economic zones, special economic zones, and special administrative zones. So those are pretty much in the direction of citadels. And there will be culture, tradition, and eventually a new or reborn civilization that we will build together. So, my bottom line here is, don't be afraid of the Great Reset. Be aware of it and be informed about it, and start thinking of how you're gonna act against it, because the vast majority of people will be for it, because I think they are already brainwashed to the point of not to the point of no return, but to the point where they will agree to anything, right? And it is up to a select few individuals to get back to where we were. So, with that said, I hope you liked the episode. I hope it was a little bit informative to you. And until next time.